Welcome back to the Crystal Lens Experience, everyone, where we have authentically liberating conversations by chatting with interesting people who have really dope stories to tell. My name is Crystal, aka the Crystal Lens. My pronouns are she and they, and I am so incredibly excited to bring to you an exclusive interview with George Powell, co-writer of the film The Walk, starring Terrence Howard, Lovie Simone, Justin Chatwin, Katie Douglas, and Malcolm McDowell, like a whole lineup. We're gonna get into it. So this film tells the story of the busing riots that happened in Boston, Massachusetts in the 70s and 80s when they were basically forcing integration of schools. So this is a story that I believe has been told a number of times through documentary format, but this is the first time that I've personally seen it where it's been told through a dramatic retelling, and actually Hollywood is taking this on. So I am so excited to bring this interview to you, and let's get into it.
In a couple of weeks, the new school year begins. This year isn't going to be anything like past years. Courts have ordered cross-district busing in the poorest white and black neighborhoods.
Dad, I'm scared.
Black people have to be ready to make one choice in America. And that's the choice whether to stay in control when white people are out of control.
Johnny's back.
They let you out.
Just in time for the fireworks.
It's gonna be chaos. It's not right. And my little girl will have to go to school and all this madness.
I don't want to go to their damn school. No, they want a bunch of kids who hate each other to walk hand in hand and sing Kumbaya.
This busing thing is driving me crazy.
They're not like us.
They're just not like us.
I deal with racist people all the time, and I don't say anything. So what does that make me?
Hey, look who thinks they can drive through Southie.
This busing gonna rip this city apart.
We have to be brave. If kids like me don't go, there'll be no change.
It's time for your justice.
There we go.
George!
What's up, Crystal?
Yo, what's going on?
Man, it's been like a billion years.
Oh
How you
my
been, yo?
gosh, I'm good. How are you?
Good, man. Burnt out, but good as hell.
Yeah, man, you're doing big things, George. Like, when I tell you, like, I was
Listen.
talking to Shav and Bree, and we actually talked about you on the first episode that I
I
recorded.
saw the whole episode. I saw
Yeah,
it.
listen, we are so proud of you. Like,
Appreciate it.
collectively, we are so proud of you. We're like, we all been out there in the trenches doing friends,
That's right.
Yeah, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. Good. Still writing.
Good.
Like working on the next project, you know, you gotta keep it going.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we got it going, so we gotta keep it going, man. But this one right here was like this is a blessing, man. The walk been a walk for real. You know that. It's been a journey.
Yeah.
I met you when I first came home, so.
Yeah. Can we like rewind a little bit and
Rewind?
like, yeah, we got to rewind a little bit because literally we have to start at the beginning, like how we even like connected. Like that's thing number one.
That's it.
I mean, we went all the way back. I mean, my aunt was working at Harvard Law,
Yeah.
and Kara, right? He was working with Kara.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Kara introduced me to you.
That's when she started the Everyday Boston project.
Everyday
She
Boston.
was like, yo, I know somebody that you'll be interested since you're into the film thing. I said, yeah. She said, Crystal. I said, okay. And that's it.
That's it.
We are here today. We've been on a journey. We've been up late night filming, editing,
All that.
documentary, trying to make deadlines and all type of stuff. Boy, we've been doing it, man.
Yo, can I tell you the one thing I really love about working with you, George, is like you're such a visionary, right? And you just didn't have like the technical skills. Like I remember being up editing late at night and you're like, make it like do this and make it do that. Like you know exactly what needed to happen, but you're like, in terms of the technical skills, like
you'd be like, yo, this is the word for that. This is what you guys say, input, output,
yeah.
upload. And I was like, all right, you know what I'm talking about. What
Oh man, but let's get into the walk though, George. Like how did this script even come about? I mean, where did this all begin?
The beginning or the movie, or as far as the walk itself, the whole journey? You want to go from the movie or you want to start from?
Well, tell us what's the movie about and then rewind and tell us how the script came about and everything like that.
Well, the movie's about the busing era in Boston, 1974. What it is, right? Kyra, the same Kyra, when she first started off the Everyday Boston program, she had all of us. It was me, Kathy, Carmen. I forgot her name. Wow.
Who else?
Oh, I forgot her name. Come on, give me her name.
Who are you talking about?
Spanish. Oh man, I forgot. She ain't been around us in a long time. Me, Kathy, Carmen, and somebody. I forgot the woman's name. No, I got Carmen. It was the other one. Other Spanish.
Gabby?
Huh?
Gabby?
Gabby. There you go. Gabby. That's right. Gabby, my fault, Gabby.
Right.
I haven't seen you in a long time. That's why. Plus I'm getting old. I'm an old head, so I got excuses to forget names. You know what I mean?
George, you're not that old.
Yeah, right. So she had all of us sit down and write things like our experience or something that affect us in our lives. And Kathy wrote a story, and Kathy's from Charlestown. She's a real townie for real. And she wrote a story about the busing era and what her experience. And like, you know, she came from it from a different point of view. She came from it from missing her prom and missing the senior year, like as a child. As a child missing her senior year. And the story kind of made me look at busing. I was a kid in the busing era, and I knew all the hate and the violence that took place in those cities.
What did you see specifically? What do you remember seeing in that time?
Oh man, I mean, in Boston, that era, we couldn't, like in Boston in the 70s, you had borders. You don't go past Dorchester Avenue. You don't go past Geneva Ave. You don't go down, you don't get off the train station in Andrew and Broadway. You don't get off these is all Southie. And you know, you just don't go, you have borders in Boston, and you go across those borders, you get stoned at, you get chased down, you get bottles thrown at you. So it was like, you know, it was, you know, the black state over here, the white state over there. And when the busing era came on, when they started implementing the busing, it was like, you know what I mean? Roxbury and Dorchester, whatever, the black part of Boston wasn't so aggressive with it, right? We didn't protest and we was angry, but there wasn't that anger as in Southie, like, and Charlestown. It wasn't that like Hyde Park or you know what I mean? It wasn't that, those sections where the white sections was, they like really was angry and they showed
what were they angry about?
Right, huh?
What were they angry about?
Blacks coming to their schools, coming to their neighborhoods. They felt like it was being infiltrated. It felt like it was being taken over. They felt like something was taken away from them. So they showed that anger. You know what I mean? They had no problem demonstrating their anger and they hate. And some of it was hate. I'm gonna call it. Some of it was pure hate. I mean, human beings have pure hate. So some of it was definitely hate. A lot of it was a lot of hate. You know what I mean? Because a lot of kids was terrorized by white folks. Young Black kids was terrorized by white folks at that moment. But we saw a lot of that. But here in Kathy's story, we didn't get the household story of the child. And I heard the household, how the white girl felt in that moment. You know what I mean? And I realized that some of the hate that we saw was anger too. It wasn't really pure hate. It was more anger of something that was taken away from them.
Right.
So it was change,
right? It was the change, right? Change like riles up people's emotions.
Exactly. Right. Hit around the head to change. And you know, and that got me thinking. I was like, damn, that's Kathy's story just touched me. Like I understood it from a different perspective. You feel me? I never looked at it from that perspective before. I just look at it like, damn, these white folks just acting crazy out here, and you know what I mean? And they trying to hurt us. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I saw a different perspective inside the hate and inside the story itself. I saw an inner story, and it touched me. So months later, I went back and I was like just looking through it, and I saw a lot of documentaries made about it. A lot of documentaries made, but not feature film.
A lot, right? Actually, you know, it's funny, George, pause real quick, because, you know, I'd like to do my research. I go on the Google machine and I was Googling because I'm like, has anyone even touched upon this at all? Like, I'm Googling, all I'm finding, George, documentaries, like live footage, you know, which is awesome, right? Like to actually see the live footage of what was going on then, but to take it like from this standpoint, like, go ahead.
Absolutely. So it was a whole bunch of documentaries, and I'm like, there's not a feature film. So I'm like, oh man, this got to be a movie. This is the movie. This is a void, you know. And like everything in life, you find in business, you find a void, you fill it, you make an impact, and plus it's historic. So I'm like, man, this will show us a coming out moment of the city of Boston. It'll show because a lot of people think in Boston we live like Black people live the perfect life in Boston, because
or that's
first of all, they don't even think there's Blacks in Boston. But
okay, thank you, George, because I was gonna say we got to start right there. People don't even think there's Black people in Boston. I was born in Boston myself,
So, but the ones that they think is, but they think Boston's like we live in the perfect life. So sometimes we need to show what we went through as a people in the city. You know what I mean? So it just was like perfect. So I called Dan up. I'm told Dan what I want to do. And Dan was like, oh, my father was a member of the NAACP or something like that. He was like, go ahead, write it. He said, write it. He said, if you could write it and send it to me.
And who's Dan? Tell everyone.
Dan is the director.
Daniel Adams.
Yeah, Daniel Adams, that's right. He's the director. He's the one that directed the film.
And he's a Massachusetts native too, right?
He's a Massachusetts native too.
And y'all two co-wrote the film.
Yes.
I love it.
He said, write the movie. I wrote it. He read it. He loved it. He said, yo, we're gonna make this movie. He you know, obviously he had to add that Hollywood clean up the grammar, because I suck with grammar. I'm not commas and all that stuff. I really need help with that. But you know,
but you're a visionary, George. That's the thing. That's what I was saying. What I love about you is like you have the vision. You know what I mean? And it's just like you just need the right team around you to help mold it into this. You know, and I think that's what you have. You know, in this moment. You know, you had Dan help you. You know, clean up the film. Whether it was me editing and making the Span documentary come alive. You just had to have the right people around you. But you are the true visionary, to be honest.
Right, and he saw the vision. He saw the vision, and the thing is, this is the backstory that people don't know. This is like a blessing. This how the universe and God works in the rhythm. When there's something meant to happen, it's going to happen. Dan was supposed to have been directing his other film that he wrote called Panama, and they got somebody else to direct it. And the fact that they got somebody else to direct it, that's why he picked up The Walk.
Wow.
Yeah. That's why he said, you know what, we're gonna do this, because he was supposed to do Panama first, then do The Walk.
Wow.
Somebody else directed the Panama, so he said we're gonna work on The Walk. This is where we are today.
Wow.
That's like a divine intervention.
Right.
This needed to be done, and you know what I mean, and then he's happy that he got it done. Not saying that he's happy that he didn't direct the Panama, but he's very content with the process that's taken where we are right now in this place and time. So
I love it. I love that, George. You know, it's funny. I wrote down a quote that I was like, because I like to do a little quote every episode. And the quote that I wrote down, it was actually, I was eating some Chinese food, and the little fortune cookie. I had 2 fortune cookies that I opened, one for me, one for my friend, and this is the quote, the 2 quotes that came out of it, and I just put them together because it was so perfect. I'm like, I have to read this on the episode with George. But it says, everything is impossible until somebody does it. By helping someone today, you may also be helping yourself.
That's right. That's a fact. That is so true.
Yeah. And that's what y'all did with The Walk. No one has told this story in a feature film. No one has told you know, the story of busing and really what both sides were going through, Black people and white people, like, as you mentioned before, right? It was change for everyone. It was scary. No one knew kind of what this meant, you know? And so folks got angry, but y'all did that.
In the process with the busing situation, with what I've gotten out of it from doing the just living the life, living it, and just living in Boston as a whole. At those eras in time, at that time and era, see, the Irish community owned a lot of stuff where they was, like in Southie and wherever. They owned like liquor stores and bars and barbershops and corner stores, and they own these in apartments, and they own businesses in their community. Whereas in our community, we own nothing.
Right.
So, you know, it's like they was fighting for something they established, where we was like, we don't own this. We never felt like we owned it. So the anger and the fight wasn't there for us. Well, we fighting for something we don't own. It's like, you know, like how they say when we riot, we burn down our own community. We burn down the community, our own community, but we own nothing that's being burnt down. You know what I mean? So people don't understand that it's like, until you start owning things, like having a house. If you own your house, you take more care of it. If you're renting a house, you take less care of it. It's the same concept with the situation, whereas the Irish own their community.
Right.
It's like, this is ours.
Right.
You know what I mean? As we felt like we was renting the community. So hey, shit, you want to come in here and go to school? Go ahead, go to school. We don't care. Some of us was angry. We're not saying we wasn't angry, but we was a little bit more, okay, accepting, because it wasn't ours. We didn't own. We don't own the liquor stores. We don't own the corner stores. We don't own the supermarkets. We don't own. Not that we spent our money and we own. So what are we fighting to hold on to? Mm-hmm. Whereas they owned everything, so they were fighting to hold on to what they owned.
Right.
So the understanding of the change was totally different.
Right. No, that's deep, George. That's really deep, because I think a lot of times, you know, for those who even know about like the riots and everything that was going on, they're just seeing the end result, right? You're seeing the riot, you're seeing the anger, right? You're not seeing that, what you just said, right? That people own these businesses, they own things in their community, you know what I mean? And naturally, like as humans, right? We like to gravitate towards people that are like us, right? So the Irish stay with the Irish, the Black stay with the Black, right? Like, and things like that. But I love that you point that out, that Black people didn't own. And even to this day, like, you know, a lot of Black people are starting to own more things, but at that time we didn't own anything. We didn't own our communities. Like you said, we were renting the community.
We rented the community.
You know,
and we really felt like that at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying nobody didn't have some, but as a whole, we had nothing, yo. We didn't even have taxi license at that time. You was renting the taxi. Very few people. So if you look at the economic system of it, it's like it played a major role in the outrage of the Irish and the so-called looking like we was passive of the Black, because we're not. It's like same thing like today. Like when they burn down things in the community today, we burn it down because that corner store is not owned by Mr. Johnson. It's owned by
somebody else,
or Arab or somebody else, or whoever, but it's not owned by the person that's living next door to you. So you have no attachment to it. So you know what I mean? So till we start owning things, then we start feeling more respective about our community, and then we might let us own a community and let somebody try to just come into it and see what happens.
Right, it's a different story, right?
It's gonna be like, nah, it's gonna be, you know what I mean? So you got to add, you know, the thing is, like in the future, like, and from this point on in my life, from time I come home from prison, my favorite word is understanding, and I think it's a word that we need to use as humans, because we know love, but we don't apply the word understanding to our daily life as much as we should. And if we apply that, I guarantee you, I promise you, there'd be less conflict in this world as humans with humans. But we don't apply understanding. It's that word is so powerful that if we use it like we use air, or we apply, I guarantee there'd be less conflict in this world as humans.
Right, I love that. I love that.
I want to write. That's how I write. That's all. Let me let you all know. All my mission in writing from this point on, from this story here and every story that comes after, is going. The base of it is going to be understanding with the people that's involved in the story.
Understanding, because I think really what I'm hearing too, George, is like understanding allows us to see the humanity in people, right? That we're all going through this experience called life, you know what I mean? And we're all having a unique experience. And sometimes it just takes someone to tell the story of someone's experience, tell the, you know what I mean, from a different perspective so that folks can actually like see what a different experience is like. Because I've only been me my whole life. I don't know about you, George, but I've only been me my whole entire life. So I don't know what it's like to walk maybe in somebody else's shoes, but it takes someone like you to tell this different stories, you know what I mean? So that we can actually see life from a different perspective.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
so tell me,
that's the mission.
Yeah. So tell me, George, why with the movie that's coming out, and it's now June 10th, we haven't said that, but June 10th is dropping.
Friday, be there, June 10th.
Be there.
Being cross country, 10 major cities.
Okay, 10 major cities. I love it. June 10th, y'all better pull up. But why do you think that we need to, like, why this film now, right? Like, why do you think we need to have this film right now? Why should we be talking about the walk and, you know, the message behind it? Why should we be talking about it now in 2022?
Because it's still effective today. It's like, you know, it's dealing with a racism, which we know is super on the table right now. We eat that on the dinner table every night, right? Dealing with racism, and it's dealing with hate. It's dealing with family structure and family importance of family, how parents raise their children, and the morals we give our children as parents. It deals with that situation. It's dealing with understanding. It's dealing with understanding as far as how we interact with each other as humans. It's like it deals with that. And I mean, no matter what timepiece you're in, that's the most important thing, is how we interact with each other. And the walk gives it like a inner insight to the hate or to the anger, to it gives us, like, you know, they say we're a product of our environment, and you kind of see that in the walk, right? You see that in the walk on the girl on the Irish side, and you see that in the walk on the Black side, and you see the how it interacts as far as family and morals. And you know, it's really important that in our lives today that we teach our children morals. We teach our children about, you know what I mean, to respect. And to respect themselves more than, you gotta respect yourself before you can respect anybody else, right?
You gotta love yourself and respect yourself.
That's right. That's number one. Love and respect yourself and understand who you are. And I think that's what the walk is. Like, there's messages, a lot of dialogue that you're gonna hear in the walk that revolves around certain things like that. And you know what I mean? And you got to be willing sometimes to take the step, take that walk, take that first step to make a difference in life. And nowadays it's like, you know, we got a lot of things going on, the Black Lives Movement, we got, you know what I mean, a lot of police shooting, and we got, you know what I mean, a lot of shootings in the neighborhoods, and, you know what I mean, and mass shootings. Is like, people, is like, the world needs to just take a moment and understand, because we just have a whole bunch of knowledge. Like, there's a whole bunch of knowledge out here in this world right now. It's like, everybody knows everything. I know. Okay, but do you understand?
Right. Do you understand?
Do you understand? You can have a whole bunch of knowledge, but do you understand what you know? See, it's a difference. You could, like, you know, a parrot could repeat you. You know what I mean? So you got to understand. So I mean, I feel the movie takes you so deep into the households that it applies to the everyday situation of today. Like, you know what I mean? Our home, everything starts from the home. Everything starts from the home when we live. And that's why when I wrote the script, I wrote it from the home point of view. I didn't want to write it from the political point of view, because we know that the politicians do what they think is best. They don't do what they think is best for the people. They do what they think is best. You know what I mean? So I wanted to take it from the home. What do the home have to deal with the laws that the politicians pass? How does this affect the households? And no, just
on an individual level.
Right, on an individual level. Right. Just like today, how does the laws affect us? You know what I mean? The politicians pass a whole bunch of laws, but how is it affecting us on the individual level? How is it helping the community? How is it hurting the community?
Right.
So, and then, you know, we have a white cop that's, he's dealing with his racism. You know, a lot of white people think about that. Am I racist?
Right.
I'm hanging around friends and they using the N-word and they saying this and that. And I just listen and I don't say nothing. Does that make me a racist? Or, I mean, so it's questioning how, you know, some people really think in their heads, you know, as white folks. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, because I don't say nothing, do that make me a racist? Or if I grew up in a neighborhood where racism and it's strong and I become part of that neighborhood, am I wrong for that? Because I grew up in that neighborhood. What else do I know? It's like, it's so much different.
It's complex. There's layers,
right?
There's layers to it. It's not just one thing, right? Because I think this is also too going into having the language, right? And saying like, okay, maybe you're not like actively racist, but you're compliant with racism, right? Or you're an accomplice to racism because you're not saying anything. So it's also about having the language, but there is layers to it. It's not just you're a racist, you're not, you're black, you're white. Like there's layers to it. There's layers to all of us.
Exactly. And that's a key to this movie, right? Is the layers. I think you just worded that perfectly. That's the key to the whole walk, and it shows the different layers from the politics down to the household, and you know, and you know, we just can't all the time judge how people react to things and say it's hate or racism or it's anger. Not just with black and white. That's just with humans as a general. We just can't just judge, because just like how a parent would discipline a child, and child would run in his room and be like, I hate my mother, or I hate my father, I wish they'll die. They don't really mean that, but that moment, that's how they feel. And if you was to take that one moment alone and erase everything else in their history life, and just you would think it's pure hate. You think they really hate their parents and they want them to die, they'll stab them up. But no, you gotta look at the whole picture sometimes. You know what I mean? And take it and apply understanding to the moment of why this person feels the way they do. And believe it or not, I hate to say the word magic, but understanding is like a magic word, because once you apply that in your life, you will start seeing people and be like, okay, and you can just move on, because you see the whole structure in that fraction. It becomes fractionally clear in your mind, and you can just walk away from it. Or you can, if you feel at that moment you understand it, that this person would react to it in a positive way, then you could explain to the person what it is.
Exactly.
Understanding, it gives up so much, man. I love that.
And I think the other thing too, George, is like when you have understanding, you're able to like move about so much more freely, right? You don't take it personal, like you were saying, right? You're able to see, okay, actually this person is speaking from some trauma. This person is speaking from some experience that happened to them that maybe they haven't dealt with, right? Like I can see you speaking from hurt, right? Like from, you can see that in people, and you can see the humanity in people as well. And you don't necessarily have to judge them off of that one moment where they were expressing an emotion, whether it was anger or hate or whatever it is, but you were expressing an emotion in that moment. And I think that is such a beautiful thing, George. Like, such a beautiful thing.
That's our platform. Understanding. I love it. That's my platform. That's it.
I love it.
That's the platform we got to spread to the world, to the human race, man.
Absolutely.
You gotta let them kids embrace that word more. That word needs to be embraced.
Yeah. George, tell me and tell everyone, what was it like? Like, tell us about the process of developing this film, you know, from script to right now, right? Like, what was that like for you? Just like put us in the moment. Like, what were you feeling? Like, what lessons did you learn? Like, just walk us through it a little bit.
I'm a late night writer. So see, when I write, people don't think I'm crazy. I'm a little crazy here, but I am a little cuckoo, but
hey, we all are.
Yeah, exactly. When I write, I like writing late night, because I hate the voices. Like the character, I don't even like calling them characters. I just told somebody else that I don't like calling them characters, because characters means it's something that's not real.
Right.
Like, these are people I hear in my head, and I'm writing their story, right? It's their story. It's Bill's story, it's Kate's story, it's Wendy's story, and it's Lamont's story. These are their story, and they telling me their story. So when I write, I'm writing, and the process, like, it took me like a month to write the whole thing.
That's so short, George.
It took me like a month to write, and I send it out but the rewrite, but you know what's the rewrites after, just to get the story the story, the beginning to the end.
Got it.
The rewrite took like about maybe 6-7 months to
Wow.
get tight to the point where Dan was content with it. I was content with it. We going back and forth. Me and Dan used to go back and forth. We argue. No, this go. I'm not giving in. He's not giving in. So we got the perfect point till we say, yes, this is it right here.
Right.
This is what we want. You know what I mean? So yeah, and so when then the process was, listen, COVID-19 kicked in because we were supposed to film in Boston. Couldn't film in Boston. 2020 was that year. We were supposed to film that year. Everything shut down that year, as we all know. So that took loss. Then there was the finance behind it, the money, because of the COVID-19. Nobody didn't want to invest in money into movies now because theaters were shut down, and it was just like everything was shut down. So, we had to come out of our pockets, and I came out of my pocket for this. I came financially out of my pocket for this. And, Dan did the same, and, other people did too. And we made it work. And when he said, he started naming off actors that we was, I was like, damn, this actor's reading, I ain't gonna say no names because they're not in it, but I was like, this actor's reading the script. Whoa, this actor's willing to do it. Whoa, I'm in my head like, wow.
Yes.
Really read the script. Yeah, exactly. Just like that. I'm like, damn, they reading it. The movie ain't made enough, but they reading it.
But they're reading it.
Exactly. They reading it like,
yes.
Yeah. So he was like, boom, yeah, this actor. And then everybody, one thing I could say, all the actors that read it, but didn't take the part, loved the story.
Wow. So
that was huge, right? So when Justin said he was going to take the part and he loved the story and he did this, I was like, yes. And then when he said, when Terrence Howard said he was going to take it, that's a whole, the hood love Terrence. You know how that goes. So it was like, what? Terrence Howard? I was like, oh, yes. He's like, we could get him. I said, you could get him. He wants, okay, let's make it happen. Yes. And then, you know what I mean? Then Kate, I didn't know about Kate much, but I looked her up, Kate Douglas, and I was like, okay, that's good, man. That's good. And then he said he had Jeremy Piven. I was like, what? From Entourage? I was like, we are in the house. I said, damn, we got a great casting. Oh man, and it's like Malcolm McDowell, and it was just like when they all came together with the characters.
Right.
He said these are all the characters. I was like, yes.
And Lovie Simone as well.
Oh man, let's not talk about Lovie. We're gonna talk about Lovie when she's acting. Listen, I want an Oscar with Lovie. Lovie, hear this right now. I want to give you your first Oscar. I want my story to be your first Oscar.
Yes.
I told her that when I saw Lovie, I said, you are this generation's Cicely Tyson. I told her. She is a phenomenal actress, phenomenal. Oh my goodness. I won't even
high praise.
Yeah, high praise. I couldn't believe, I used to see, we on set and I see the crying and I see how the tears comes out for real. I used to always wonder on TV, they stop the camera, put the eye drops in, and then put the camera
and make them cry.
Yeah, right? Nah, those tears come out. That emotion comes out like this, and Lovie's on the snap of her finger. She's like, and she's right into that mode, right into that person right there. Instantly, it's like she get possessed and it just comes right into her, It's like, oh, yeah, I'm super, she'll tell you. I told her that day, I said, I pulled her aside, I said, you're this generation Cicely Tyson. You get all the parts you're supposed to get. Oh my goodness, your career.
The rap, she's it's over. Powerhouse.
Over, powerhouse all day. Yes, for y'all generation, yes. Yes.
That's amazing. Yes,
man. You know what the nicest part though? Oh, there's a few nice parts. But the first one I get off the plane because we filmed it in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
So I get off the plane. I'm going to the set, and I'm walking on the set, and all you hear is rider on the set, right? That felt good, yeah.
Because who showed up, George? The writer, George Powell. Like you wear a lot of hats, George, but you can officially add feature film writer.
Yeah. And then a guy named Tim, he was a set designer, great dude, black guy. Me and him still keep in contact today. he came up to me. He's like, yo, when I saw a black guy was the writer, I felt so proud. I was like, yes. And I was like, he came and shook my hand. We embraced. I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I felt so proud. Man, I saw a black guy be there as the writer. When you walked up and I seen you, I turned, they say right on the set, and I seen your face. I said, I felt good.
Nice.
But there was a moment, right? They have the standbys. They have the standby that like fills in for the main actors. And you're gonna see it in the movie, the girl on the bus, and she says, I want to go home. And she was a standby, but that was her first line that she said on film ever. Yo, when we was on the bus going back to the hotel, she broke down crying. I was like, yo, why are you crying? She said, that's the first time I ever said something on a line.
On camera.
My dream came true. Yeah, she said, my dream came true. She said, I did this for my kids. She was crying tears. She said, I did it for my son. She showed me her son on the camera. She said, yes, this is the beginning. This is the beginning. I was like, wow, it was my first beginning, her first beginning. Tim, that's the first time, and him and his wife did a great job decorating the set. That's the first time he ever did set design. And they did it for a period of time too, to find all the pieces and make it happen. They did a phenomenal job, man. Then you know, a lot of the people on the set was like, yo, the reason why we're doing this because of the story. It's a great story. And that made me feel good. It made me feel complete. It was a story. They said even the DPs, the cinematographer, they was like, it's the story. It's the story.
Wow.
So, you know, and when Terrence Howard said, yo, it's a great story, you did it. When I heard that from his mouth, and Justin Chatwin, yo, you did a great job with the story. Justin's such a good dude. He's like a down-to-earth dude. He's like the dude you could sit down and just kick it with and just talk any shit. Like, he's cool. Like, the first day I met Justin, right, real quick, some guy, people was walking through. It was like, yo, what's this movie about? What's this movie about? Justin was like, a Chinese pot. It's called The Walk. I said, you're good. I said, you're sharp. I said, I could hang out with you. Instantly, instantly. He said, it's about a Chinese pot. It's called The Walk. I said, you're sharp. I like you. That just tells you his personality. Instantly, he didn't have to think about it. It came out instantly off the drop, yo. I was like, okay, you sharp. Yo, he's so cool, man. Justin's he's you know what? All the stars are cool because we see them as this right here, but you see them in your face, and these stars are wheels around. I can't speak for everybody, but these that took part in this movie, down to earth, great people as humans, and it was a beautiful thing. Terrence Howard took me out to dinner.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so that was nice with him and with his wife, and it was like. You know what I mean? It was like so normal. It wasn't like I didn't feel like, oh, I'm doing, you know what I mean? It just felt so normal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I love that for you, George, to be honest, because can I tell you the one thing that I was prepping for this and I was like, what questions I'm gonna ask you, and I'm thinking about the stories that we're gonna tell, stuff like that. And the one thing that kept popping into my head was I don't know, it was late night, we were filming, and you just kept saying we going to Hollywood, we going to Hollywood, we gonna make it happen, we gonna make it happen. And to actually see you come full circle from meeting you shortly after you came home from prison, and seeing all the hard work we put in over the years, to get to this point is just beautiful. And it's like you said, this is just the beginning. This is just a little blossom that's about to bloom.
That's right.
Absolutely bloom.
Right.
So I'm excited for you, George. I am so incredibly proud of you. I'm so excited for you. I've been telling everybody about the walk. You see my background here.
I see it, the walk. I love it. I love the background.
Listen, I'm team the walk, okay?
That's right.
This is a story that needs to be told. And I ride for Boston. That's our city. And anything I can do to get these stories out there to uplift folks, that's what I'm here for. So I'm so proud of you, George. And I have to ask you, because I'm all about the kids too and stuff like that, but what do you say to aspiring writers, whether they're in school, they haven't picked up a pen yet? What do you say to aspiring, especially Black writers and those who are telling those are stories?
Right. That's right. Don't let nobody, you know what you don't do? You don't tell people what you're writing. That's the first thing you don't do. Because everybody got a lot of ideas and a lot of people discourage you too. And if you have something you want to write, keep it to yourself. Because some certain things you gotta keep in your heart with you, God, your universe, or whoever you believe in, but you just keep that within yourself and write it. And when you finish writing, that's when you tell people. Because once you start telling while you're writing, you start telling people, then you don't need no other voices besides the people voices that story's about in your head. So you don't want to hear, well, not this character should do this, or this person should do this in the story, or this person should do that in the story. You just want to just stay focused on what came to your mind, whoever talked to you in your mind, whatever person told you to write this story in your head, that's all who you need to talk to. Nobody else until you finish writing that story. Nobody else you need to talk to. Wow. And just write it. Don't, and a lot of times when we're writing, some people call it writer's block, but I don't call it a writer's block, because is what it really is to me, and from my experience, is that person is telling you to take time out and see what they want to do next. It's like in our personal lives, sometimes we sit there, we stuck, and we just thinking, man, should I do this? Should I do that? Well, that's what that person is telling you. He's thinking, she's thinking. You know what I mean? They thinking about what they doing next. So if you look at it as writer's block, then it looks like a block. But if you look at it as the person telling you they need time to think, then you're thinking with that person. And then the person sharing that thought with you, then you be like this. Next thing you know, you get up out of nowhere in the middle of the night, you turn on your laptop, you're like this in front of the laptop. Oh yeah. Oh,
is that you, George?
That's how I be. My wife would tell I'll jump out of the bed. And I'll turn on the light, I'll go in the living room and I'll start writing. I'll be like, damn, it just came to me. It just comes to me. Like I can hear them talking to me clear as day. And it's like, whoa. Wow. So it's like, write, and don't tell nobody what you're writing, just write it. Now, if you're writing with somebody, it's a different story. But if you're doing a solo project, just write it. That Dan, first Dan said was go write it. That's all he said, go write it. Then I met Dan in the cigar bar. He sat down and read it. He's like, oh man, you're gonna make a movie. Here we are today. You know what I mean? And it's a beautiful, then the journey started way before that. This journey started from Friends.
Right.
Friends, what we did. No,
we did Friends, the web series. Yeah.
Come on, we was filming Friends 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning.
At a barbershop down on Blue Hill Avenue.
On Blue Hill Avenue, yeah, we was over there. You know what I mean? Come on, man. The journey started from time I was in prison, walking the yard with Big Steve. You know what I mean? And I used to tell Steve, yo, I write the stories. I used to have Steve read it. Steve used to read the stories, and he had to come back and tell me everything what the story's about. Yo, now what's it about? Okay, boom. Now what is it about? What did you get from it? And he'll break it down and like, yo, Steve, man, we're gonna go to Hollywood, man. We're gonna make it happen.
We're going to Hollywood, baby. I'm telling you, George. In my notes, I literally wrote, we going to Hollywood, baby, because literally I had to go back and find it because I'm like, I knew I wrote it down because you said that. You said
I got the videotape when all of us was in the barbershop that time, and we had interview everybody.
Yeah.
We're going to Hollywood. I was like, yo, we're going to Hollywood. We're gonna make it, man. We're gonna make it, man. I have those video clips. You know, we got a lot of clips together.
Yeah, I have the whole, look at right here. I have the whole, you remember this? George? The hard drive?
That's right.
I still have the hard drive right there with all the footage on it.
We have a lot of clips together. So, you know,
we're going to make some stuff happen.
We're going to make it happen. This is the beginning. This is only the beginning stages. And the thing is, the key for us is to tell the Black and brown story of Boston, because I haven't been told.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the mission. That's going to be the void we're going to fill. That's the void. Yep. Solar Productions, Crystal Lens. This is voids we're going to tell. We're going to tell the Black and brown story of Boston, man.
Yeah.
In a featured films, not just documentaries. Featured films.
We have tons of documentaries. Huh? Yeah, we have tons of documentaries. There's tons of documentaries, but we need to see. That's a beautiful thing. That's a whole beautiful genre on its own, right? But we're talking about feature films. We're talking about in movie theaters. We're talking
on the streaming channels. We talk about all the above, because We don't have that. Boston's a multicultural place. But they say New York is a melting pot, but Boston is too. The communities are smaller, but we have the Asian community, we have the Jamaican community, we have the American community, we have the Haitian community, we have the Cape Verdean,
Yep, Cape Verdean, Brazilian.
We have the Dominicans, we have the Spanish. This is all communities that you won't even think exist in Boston, and it existed. And we're gonna be that company that fills that void. We're gonna create that void. We're gonna fill that void. And you know what I mean? We have, we know about the Irish community. So that's always gonna be part of the story because it's part of Boston. But it's time to include
the Irish and Italian been there. They got their spot.
Right, but we're gonna still tell because it interacts. We all interact, even though like in the walk, even though the walk will make the walk special, will make that moment in time special because Boston was so segregated at the time.
Right.
It was extreme. Listen, anybody that grew up in Boston around that time know how segregated it was. So when the politicians just said, throw everybody together, come on, when you throw shit together, when you get a clash, if you do this, you're gonna get a bang, you're not gonna get it right. So you're gonna get that clash. And that's what happened. We got the clash. So that's how we need to come in, starting to tell the Black story and the brown story.
Yes.
People of color story in Boston.
And y'all heard it first here on the Crystal Lens.
That's right.
All right, that is what we're doing. We're here to tell those stories.
That's
and
right.
It's so true, George, because I mean, the number of times I've gotten, I didn't know there's Black people in Boston, or they only think about, the Italians, or they only think about the Irish, or they only think about like the Red Sox, or sports, right? And the racism, right? But it's like, it's deeper than that. And there's so much culture in Boston that exists outside of what is shown in mainstream media. And like you said, the Black and brown story needs to be told because we have a story. We are here, we are alive, and we are part of the fabric that makes Boston what is Boston.
Boston, right? And Boston's beautiful. And it's a beautiful city. And like I said, they say Boston just as melted pot and we need to show that. It'll make the city be more accepted as far as, yes, this is like, to the rest of the world, to the rest of the country, that, it's like, it's a beautiful city. And we just need to include everybody into the stories, man. Everybody's stories.
Absolutely.
If I could tell everybody's story, I'll tell it, man. I'm willing to tell it, man. I'm willing to bust my brains and listen to all the voices until they drive me crazy and write down the voices, man.
Yes.
I'm willing to tell that story. So it's like, that's what we have to do, man. We have to fill that void. And that's the goal. The mayor office of Boston, Mayor Wu, she really took a liking to the story and a liking to the movement, her office. So she's supporting it very strong.
Beautiful.
Kyra's doing a lot with telling stories and with Everyday Boston, and she's pushing the issues, and she's been down the streets pushing it. And she, from day one, she's been trying to connect the cities with each other. That's her whole mission of Everyday Boston, connecting stories, using stories to connect people. So
and we're an ecosystem, right? Like we're just an ecosystem of like all these really like dope organizations and companies just coming together to tell the stories that like aren't in mainstream media, you know what I mean? Like to tell the stories that exist, that are important, that, you know what I mean, haven't been told yet, That's
right. We got communities, we got Vietnamese communities in Boston, we got Chinese communities in Boston, we got different communities that people you won't even think there's community, but you ride down the street and you see all these Asian writings and foods and stuff. You're like, wow, this is what it is. But yeah, this it's your Crystal, man. This is like a beautiful thing. And I know like people be like, yo, you ain't happy, you ain't overjoyed, and I'm happy and I'm overjoyed. But you know how you feel like, okay, you did this, but first of all, I want an Oscar. I'm telling you, I want an Oscar. It's okay, I want an Oscar. Simple as that. I do want an Oscar. So it's like, but in the process of getting the Oscar, it's like, this is only like, it's like a child. Are you going to do a child be happy that he's just standing up? No, he takes that step, then he's walking, falling, then he's running, then he's driving, then he's flying a plane.
Well, he's riding a bike.
So right, you know what I mean? It just travels. So it's not that I'm not happy or not thinking, but I just know this is just the first stand. This is standing up right now. All I'm doing is standing up. It's not, I'm not moving. I got to move forward. You got to keep going. If I get stuck with a stand up, I'm going to stand still. Right. So it's not about they're like, oh yeah, but I'm thinking about the next project. I'm thinking about going to the next one. What about us? Oh, Lord. That one there's written, Philly written, edited, nicely clean, everything. It's on the table. What About Us? That's the next project.
What's that one about?
It's about a journalist that's who wants to change the media's portrayal of crimes in the Black community. Like the media don't have the same empathy when somebody is murdered in the urban community or people of fame or whatever you want to call it, as when somebody get murdered in our community. It's like, okay, another shooting, another killing in Roxbury. When somebody get killed in Newton, oh, another shooting, sad day, and read this, and they give 2-3 days of coverage, and they talk to family, and the public have empathy and sympathy for these people. But when you just say another shooting in Roxbury, person died, and then that's it, looking for suspects, there's no empathy, there's no backstory, and the main person, the cat, is called Trammell, and he wants to change that. He knows that if he could change the way the media portrays and talks about the crimes in our community and the violence, and let the people see them as people, as humans like the other people, then people care more about what's going on in the community. But when you just say another shooting, it just sounds repetitive, right? It sounds repetitive. Oh, another shooting. It's like, okay, they blew. Oh, they just killing each other. That's what we get. Then we get the fake terminology called Black on Black crime, right? Which is no such thing as Black. That's not. I mean, hold on. I don't even blame the media. Black folks buy into that Black on Black crime. We use that terminology, right?
Exactly, because we're watching the media, we're interacting with, it goes both ways, right? Like, we're consuming the media is consuming us.
Yeah, but we buy into that, but you never listen. When a Chinese person kills somebody, usually is another Chinese person. When an Irish person kills somebody, usually is another Irish person. So everybody kills people in their community. That's right.
It's proximity. So, that's why it's just proximity.
That's all it is. So but they make us look like parasites, and we buy into the terminology Black on Black crime, which turns out to be like we doing something different than no other. When you look at the roaring 20s with the alcohol, and you see them with machine guns gunning down people in the streets. I mean, did they ever say white on white crime or white? I know, but we feed into this terminology and it weakens us. It weakens us because it weakens our state of mind. Real quick, I know it's off the topic, but I got to say this.
All right, George, go for it.
It's like the white supremacy thing, right? They make the white supremacy bill. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. Okay, first of all, the fact that we're using supremacy with white is freaking stupid, right? The fact that we giving that power of calling supremacy, in our head, we unconsciously, that affects our mental to think that white is superior. And we use it. Why not call it what it is? Terrorists. Why not call it, keep it under the Terrorist Act? Why we had to create a whole bill, a whole budget that could go to the communities to help the kids to create a white supremacy thing? Come on, let's be for real. Is that needed? That's terrorists. They're not white supremacists, they're terrorists. They're terrorizing Black people. So call them what it is. There's no
terrorizing children.
Everybody, Black people, everybody, white, they're terrorists. So why are we creating a thing called white supremacy? There's no such thing as white supremacy.
Because they're not
that word should not even be there, but they trying to still, in a negative situation, they're still trying to give them an uplifted place. So it's like, come on, we need to start learning how words is affecting us unconsciously.
Words are important.
Yes, they are important. It's just like the same thing with Karen, right? We call a white woman that's acting up, we call her Karen. That's what I just learned that word this year, right? If to take that same action with a Black woman, we're gonna call her a ghetto bitch. So why not call this white woman a bitch? A ghetto, or she's crazy, or she's acting a fool, or she's ignorant. Let the Black woman do the exact same shit. She's a ghetto bitch. We gonna call her a name. That doesn't give a adjectives to what she's doing at the moment, which is being ignorant.
Right.
So come on,
that's the basis of it, right? It is the ignorance, right?
Right. That's what we call her Karen. Why Karen? Why give it a name? But if it's a Black woman doing the same thing, we're gonna call her a ghetto bitch. Or she's ignorant, or she's this, but we give them a name. So I'm saying, we need to learn how to big ourselves up.
We got to use language more responsibly.
Right, not only more responsibly, but we need to learn how to big ourselves or how to respect ourselves. The key thing if we are mad to ourselves, we can't expect nobody else to mad to us. So
say that again, George. Say that again.
If we don't mad to ourselves, we can't expect nobody else to mad to us. So it's like we do a lot of things and they put a lot of laws in. That's why I'm not big with the law shit. But they put laws in that sounds good, but it really doesn't serve a strong purpose. That's why like a politician with the walk again, push these two people together, just forcing them together without taking in consideration all of that goes in. The same thing with all these other laws, like the white. When I heard they had a white supremacy budget, how are you gonna give a white? You know what's gonna happen? You're gonna take the white supremacy budget. They're gonna say, okay, yeah, I know some white guys who's trying to get out white supremacy. Give us $1 million, and they're gonna use that money to fund the white supremacy. Trying to act like they're recovering white supremacists or white racists or terrorists. Just keep it under the terrorist budget and charge them as terrorists to the country because they terrorizing the country.
The country, period. On a bottom line, they are terrorizing
the country. Right. Don't
innocent
separate
people.
it. Right. Don't separate it. Don't separate it and make it supremacy. That's a powerful word.
That is a powerful word.
What? Come on. Wow. So it's a matter of understanding. We just need, again, it goes back to word understanding. We need to understand what people are saying and doing and how it affects our life unconsciously.
Yeah.
And move forward with it.
Absolutely. George, you already know, like, whenever we link up, it's magic. Like, this has been a beautiful conversation. Like, I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited for the walk one more time.
The walk, look at it.
The walk coming out June 10th.
June 10th. Be there is on VOD too. If you can't be in the theaters, order it online.
Order it online. Boom.
Right.
I'm going to have all the details wherever folks are listening or watching to this. I'm going to put all the details in the description boxes and y'all enjoy it. George, is there anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
We got more to come, man. Boston, the black and brown story is gonna be told in Boston, man.
We're gonna put Boston on the map.
We coming out, man. We coming out. We ain't had no rappers, but we're gonna get some rappers in this whole story too. Because you know, you always say Boston ain't got no rappers.
There's so many rappers in Boston.
Ray, but you know, I mean, there's no rappers, big rappers coming out from Boston. But we're gonna bring the whole city, man. We got to bring the whole city, bring forward, man. We got to come forward. It's time to rise. We're gonna be like the phoenix rising out of the ashes, man. That's what we are. The Bean, our sports teams are great, but we're gonna have the greatest films coming out of Boston. Man.
Hell yeah.
That's right. Hollywood and Beantown, Warren Avenue.
Hey.
You know what I mean? Blue Hill Ave.
All of the above. I love it, George. Thank you. I appreciate you, George.
All right,
till next time.
All right.